Welcome to YTunes Shuffle number 9. This is David Earl Waterman. It is my honor to introduce today's guest, Greg Behrendt. Hello, Greg.
Hi, Val. How are you? I said hi, pal.
I
have my hand over my mouth.
I'm glad we're starting out on a good foot.
Yeah.
As usual, those of you that have listened to the podcast YTunes Shuffle, this is how the show works. We crank up some music in any number of ways. It could be a random shuffle off of somebody's iPhone or smartphone. It could be a person has selected a body of music from their individual collection. The whole idea is whenever a song comes up, regardless of how the song, the tune, happens to come up, that's what generates the interview.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and again, this is a work in progress. YTunes Shuffle is by no means even formatted in any specific way. It's open, it's free, like music and the expression of music.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so
I like that.
Good, and I knew you would. Greg and I have known each other for many years.
We met at I lived in a house full of women up on Curson Avenue in the early 90s. I lived with some comedians. I lived with Margaret Cho and Janine Garofalo and Laura Milligan. And one night you were at the house, and we were all really soused. As I recall.
We were
and
soused.
We started with something called the LA Men's Drinking Club. Men's Drinking. You remember? Don't you remember? We were going to start something called the LA. I think we were going to call the LA Men's Drinking Society or LA Men's Drinking. Roger Rittenhouse and you.
Roger
and I,
was there.
We were
Tony Kameen might have been there.
Yes.
Jim Sherman
and I don't know why we decided to make it a men's club. But there were women there, but we decided we were going to start some sort of club. And then I think not too long after that, I got sober.
Well, I got sober in '97.
I got sober in '96.
Okay.
First time around.
Yeah.
First time around. 96.
So that was like mid '90s. Right in there, yeah. And it's funny because now that you mention that, Kathy Griffin happened to be at that same party, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. Were you rooming with Cross?
I was living there. Later on, I would live with Cross.
Yeah,
I was sober when I lived with Cross.
I did not know that.
I was sober when I lived with Cross.
Yeah.
And he was maybe the best roommate I ever had.
He was my roommate.
He was
I lived with David.
He was a good roommate.
He was.
He was people would probably be surprised to know David Cross was very tidy, and pretty good about food,
creative,
and when I was living with him, he was really into Mr. Show. So he would work real hard. He was a real hard worker. He'd stay home and real committed to his work, and I would always be trying to get him to go out and do stuff. And then I'd wake up in the morning and wonder why I didn't have a career. And
it's funny how that works.
Yeah, and that was part of the reason I got sober. I was probably 2 weeks. I drank for about 2 more weeks when I lived with David, and then I got sober.
He can drink. David can drink.
But he knew where to put it he knew how to put it aside when he wanted to get something done, and that's how he and Bob. I mean, it wasn't like they didn't celebrate the making of Mr. Show.
No.
But he knew how to put it aside when he wanted to get something done.
I had the same experience with him and other people in my life, David Cross, other people in my life, and
I didn't know how to put it aside.
No,
I was either all or nothing.
Right.
So I needed to put it all. I needed to put it away entirely so that I could just get my shoes tied.
But let me ask you this: were you unaware of this particular motivation that you had, which is like you say, I didn't know when to put it aside. When I drank, I didn't want to put it aside. I very much like being inebriated. I like the act of getting high.
And I thought that's where my creativity came from. So I didn't understand.
Yeah.
But then I also didn't understand that nothing happened.
Yeah.
Like I didn't wake up with scripts.
No, it was forgetfulness.
I didn't wake up the next morning with whole show ideas.
Yeah.
Or
this fall on NBC.
Yeah.
What I was thinking about.
I didn't wake up casting something.
Yeah.
Like I had a lot of dreams and ideas, but I didn't wake up involved in a program. Well, so there was, and I did notice a lot of times, that I would leave the house and David would be at that point just writing in a notebook because there weren't many computers around even at that time.
And I think it certainly meeting people like David Cross and other creative people that are risk takers and are not completely snobbish or politically against any kind of a lifestyle whatsoever.
Not at all. David would also on a Wednesday see if you wanted to take mushrooms and go to Nogales. So he definitely.
Wait, what's Nogales? I'm sorry.
It's a city in New Mexico. You know what I mean? Like David was a guy who would and then be angry with you that you just didn't want to up and go. I mean, David didn't live by anybody's set of rules.
Sounds like the David Cross I haven't seen that guy, and I haven't spoken to him in 15 years at least. I haven't seen him. Physically seen him. On TV I've seen him, but I haven't.
I saw him at an event for Ben Stiller maybe a year and a half ago. But my wife and Christine Taylor, Ben's wife, are best friends. So I sort of saw him through that way.
Oh, okay.
And he was lovely. But David was I learned a lot about music from David. I had what I thought were pretty eccentric tastes, and then David would listen to music that sounded to me like people dropping pipes onto concrete. You know what I mean? David would listen to stuff where I go, well, that's just arbitrary taste in things that are difficult. And then he would own books, like picture books of people who'd been shot. David's taste in things that were alternative were genuinely alternative, whereas I liked stuff that was maybe a little left of center.
Yeah. I think meeting David Cross and coming into the comedy scene, which is how you and I met.
Yeah.
And I dare say, Greg, that when I met you and began I met a lot of people simultaneously, and at the time, you stood out as, and I never shared this with you, and I don't think I shared it with anybody else, but it was definitely a thought that I was having, being a naive sort of upstart who kind of got lucky in show business because I happened to join a comedy group with Sarah Silverman and Louis C.K. and David Cross. I happened to be like the hayseed that they took into their comedy shows, and I ended up getting lucky that way. But you kind of reminded me of the dudes I was hanging around with before I got into the comedy scene, musicians, and you had this character called the Lemur that you were developing. That was can you tell me a little bit about the Lemur and what you were?
Well, it's funny that you say that about yourself, because I also felt the same way. That guy was like, well, I'm not sure why these people have invited me into their group, because I'm the only person here who owns a Poison record. I'm not kidding. I have become friends with some of the most intelligent, sort of left of center, erudite, interesting, smart, like what you just said. And I am genuinely a Poison fan. Who was an ex-athlete, who I'm kind of the person these people make fun of.
Good point. That's exactly
the character that I've made fun of is I used to do what I used to call sort of a Central Valley radio DJ, just kind of a $10,000 in party cash, just the kind of that '90s DJ
that's the Lemur,
that was always giving things away with a radio, the Lemur, who was always giving things away.
And it's still, in the Lemur, the character that you created and that whole genre of DJ, how do you categorize those DJs? They're morning drive guys?
Just kind of a morning drive guy that was around all the time, that was just not a bright guy.
I'm always enthusiastic, and so are you.
Things are always fantastic on a Goo Food 2 for Friday.
This is wild.
Yeah, everything's fantastic. We got some comedians in here. Having comedians is like, it's like being, having comedians in here is like being tumble dried.
I'd love to be the sidekick guy that's like, oh no,
that's like a shotgun. I can't remember. We had we had created this whole character, and Mike Gandolfi played the Snow Leopard, which was his sidekick. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And being in a room full of comedians is like being a tumble dried at 5 ago before the hour at 10 o'clock on a Goo Food 2 for Friday. We giving away $10,000 in party cash, and
that's the kind of I don't think that a lot of young people who might begin to start to develop sort of an awareness of that guy's cool, but he's also weird. would ever kind of put that together to sort of embrace an alternative comedy scene. Like,
right.
It really, what do you think inspired you to go for it? What was happening when you introduced the Lemur? And this is YTunes Shuffle. And we were listening to a little bite of music, which I didn't reference, and that's a faux pas. Can you tell me what it was we were listening to when we came on podcast air?
That is a band called the Abyssinians, and it was just it was a dub track. When to find a common bond, I live in a house full of women.
Mm-hmm. That's your wife and two daughters?
That would be my wife and two daughters. My girls are at this point 10 and 13.
Good grief, man!
So
you had two kids that old.
Yeah, two little girls.
I remember you got married, but I know, wow,
10 to 13. So the music that we can all listen to is ska. We listen to one of the radio stations that we listen to around the house is Rude Boy Radio.
Rude Boy Radio.
Yeah, it's the kind of the radio that's sort of non-offensive to everybody.
Oh, good.
You know what I mean? It's sort of the common ground.
I like it.
Just sort of reggae, ska, dub kind of music, which Daddy likes the most, and sort of doesn't get in everybody's way. If we listen to too much sort of Taylor Swift, Daddy gets angry. But if we listen to too much metal, you know what I mean? Like
the kids are like enough
the common ground. I also, as I've grown older, I found that I really like. I listen to a lot of reggae and dub stuff. The band that I play in plays a lot of
What's the name of your band?
The Reigning Monarchs.
The Reigning Monarchs.
It's sort of a little reggae ska, or surf punk reggae ska kind of thing.
And this cut we were listening to here is an example of that.
It's just called Declaration of Dub, and it's off of a compilation of dub. Dub music is just it's sort of the early. It's basically remixed reggae.
Dub.
Instrumental.
Yeah, dubbed. Yeah. I dubbed that onto the track.
We're just going to remix.
Urban Blight out of New York City was my all-time favorite. Have you ever heard of those guys?
No.
I highly recommend.
I will go listen to it now.
Oh my gosh, they did the horn section on Beastie Boys' License to Ill.
Right. So I like all the classic stuff. I like the King Tubby.
Yeah.
I like all the early Jamaican stuff. That's my jam.
Cool. Well, let's keep the conversation going. But let's hit the next song on your Greg Behrendt's.
Now that they've ruined iTunes music, I don't know how
to get another song up.
How to get it.
Listeners, we are struggling here. The last two episodes of YTunes Shuffle, Michko Fremont and I were having the same kind of...
How you would go to your next, naturally, to go to it naturally. I mean, I could just...
Yeah,
how do you...
hit anything.
I just... I don't know how to...
We don't necessarily have to have the surprise. I mean, if there's
I love the surprise, though. That's the thing, because otherwise it...
I'm looking at your phone, and I don't see any icon that says shuffle anymore.
I don't...
Let's make sure we have music. So it just...
Yeah, let's just put some music on. This is... There's my music.
Is that playing?
Yeah, but...
We're both flummoxed. The technology has definitely changed. We have to catch up.
Yeah.
Here comes something.
Yeah, I don't know this band, and I don't know this song.
That's not unusual on YTunes Shuffle.
Yeah, anymore. I don't know. The band is called Antlers, and the song is called Hospice.
Well,
the album is called Hospice, and the song is called Kettering.
Jeremy Kramer and I, when Jeremy was a guest on YTunes Shuffle, we went through a number of songs where he just looked at me with a blank stare and said, I don't know how or why. Mm-hmm. It's one of the mysteries and one of the exciting things about but this is definitely part of your Greg Behrendt's mix of music. You own this, or you possess this, yet you have no idea what it is.
I have no idea how I got it. I mean, there are those days where I'm not even sure I like it. There's those days now as an older guy where you just Shazam. Mm-hmm. This could have easily been me standing at the Gap and looking for a pair of khakis, and hearing this over the din, and then thinking, there might be a chord change in here that I want to steal.
Yeah.
And hearing it, and then
Is that common as a do you consider yourself, and I don't want to force labels or force you to even try to give yourself a label, but you are a singer, songwriter, musician, all around music guy. You're in a band. You're a band.
Right.
Yeah. And so,
I mean we're an all instrumental group, and I will hear ideas, and I'll hear something I like and think, oh gosh, I'd like to be able to learn how to play that.
Yeah, sure.
And so I'll.
So that's.
I mean, this is a lot of what I don't like about music right now.
Let's give it a little bit of a listen, and I think this person definitely is there's passion in the voice of the singer. It's hard for me to not find something. I guess it was some great spiritual leader, might have been Buddha or somebody like that, Gandhi. The Maharaji, I don't know, who said, if you can't see God in the face of the next person you meet on the street, you might as well stop looking. And I think the same is true of music, to some degree. Although, there is some very difficult people, and what the hell am I talking about?
I mean, I feel like this guy and I wouldn't
we could kill him. YTunes Shuffle allows you.
I feel like we wouldn't necessarily. Hang on.
Oh, here, wow. I'm not getting anything. I don't feel like I'm not totally blown away yet. Then again,
I might have liked this part. I definitely the singer feels like he could evaporate for me at any moment.
There's like a brushing sound. I feel like somebody's got a brush, like a scouring brush that they're using to rub against a piece of wood.
Or they're trying to erase. Somebody's trying to maybe even stop this song from happening.
Let's do that. Let's just go nuts. Let's try to figure out and get you reacquainted with your iTunes. And it doesn't have to be a complete and total surprise.
Okay, here we go. Play next.
Cool.
I found how to do that. You hit those dots.
Okay, play next.
Let's try that again. And play next. And it says it's playing next. I wonder if it's playing next later. It's being generous. Here we go. Play next.
There it is. There it is.
And there it goes. Now, maybe I don't own next. Well, maybe we played before.
Isn't that something?
That is something. That
those
is really
two
something.
straight, are those pause lines?
Does the guy who do you know the name of the guy that runs Apple now?
No, I have no idea. But you can't just like 2 weeks ago. You could put your you could see your whole list of music. There was an icon that looked like 2 intersecting arrows. You press that, you press play, and then you were magically treated to a mix of your music that was generated solely and completely by the iTunes people.
I'm going to play you a song that I really like.
This is good because
I'm going to play you a song I really like. This is by a girl named Anya Marina, who I met doing stand-up.
Anya Marina.
So this is playing that song again.
Add up next.
Please, God, stop this. Please stop playing that song.
It's the same. Clear up next. Hit that one. What we're doing, folks, is
Okay, this is a great song. This girl lives in New York, and she's Nikki.
Sorry about that, folks. I'm handling the volume control, and I messed up.
You look her up, and you buy all her records. Her name's Anya Marina. Yeah, give her a little bit more. Give her a little bit more juice.
We got to speak up when the music's loud too, so we can hear your explanation.
Yeah,
because they're definitely hearing the music. I promise you that. What?
She lives with Nikki Glazer, the comedian.
Is that John Glazer's? No, they're not.
No, she's a superstar. She had her own TV. She's had a couple of her own TV shows. She hosted. Yeah, she's a big deal.
And it's a personal friend of yours?
She's like one tier below, the one that's got Trainwreck coming out.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. It's kind of cool. I love female vocalists that, because I'm really into women succeeding, like the World Cup.
She's from San Diego, and she had a boyfriend. He had a band called the Rugburns, and she said, "I can do this. I can write songs." And she started writing songs, and she's had hits. She had a big hit. She covered one of T.I.'s songs.
Really?
Yeah.
T.I.'s the rapper.
Yeah.
And how did tell us again, please, how you
I met
got
her at Cobb's Comedy Club.
just doing stand-up?
She came up and said, "Hey, my name's Anya, and I write songs." Sometime during the 90s.
Really? So quite a while ago.
Mm-hmm.
When did she start doing the music thing?
She probably did it beginning of 2000.
So she had already had a good run of comedy and stage performing. And
No, she just was around. She was just around the scene.
Oh, she's okay.
She was just a friend. She was just around the scene, and then and then all of a sudden I realized she was making records, and she's making good records.
One of the cool things about having the privilege of having friends and participating in creative groups and things of that nature, we see and run into our friends in media venues. Like, oh shit, I'm in a record store and there's a picture of my friend on an album cover, or I'm scrolling through some sort of weird website and there's one of my friends doing a video.
Yeah.
So that's how you got acquainted. It caught you off guard when you saw she was doing.
And
music.
my wife signed bands.
Is that that's her job?
That was her job when I met her. She writes with me and we've written books together now, and she also writes scripts. And has a writing partner and is very accomplished. But so when I met her, I've met some, I know some pretty heavy duty cats in the music world because of her, which is neat because I'm fascinated with that world. That world is way more interesting to me than comedy. I've always been way more interested in music and musicians and.
Well, I'm convinced that any sort of inspiration that comes out of a person that is not creating music in and of itself, making a beat, humming a tune, jamming out on some kind of a rhythm. Like for me, I've never really explored trying to be musical.
Yeah.
It's kind of scared me. But music informs and enhances virtually anything I do creatively. I need to hear something with a beat to get my head going in the direction that I like to go creatively, and that's comedy, drama, what have you.
No, I was just playing the same thing again. Yeah, I've.
That's her again. Yeah, doing the roulette right there, and then just hitting any song that comes out.
Well, I'm gonna just hit the roulette.
Okay.
And
what Greg is doing is he's spinning through a whole list of different songs.
And then now it's just done something really bothersome, and then I'm gonna stop here.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
This is our next YTunes shuffle with Greg Behrendt.
This is a guy named Gary Myrick. He was a new waver from the 80s. He used to have he had a song called Gary Myrick, I'm Not a Number. And She Talks in Stereo. They were two 80s hits.
Yeah.
And then he just continued to make records, and this is a song called Bolero.
Let's hear it.
Off a record no one's ever heard. And it's playing, but it's also not playing.
We can see that there's actually levels that are coming off of your...
And it's an instrumental, and it sounds not unlike what the Reigning Monarchs do, which we'll play for you in a little bit.
What in the deuces, man?
Yeah,
well, my speaker should be working.
Yeah. Yeah.
We didn't mute something.
We sure haven't.
God almighty.
Maybe it's...
There we go. Part of this, Greg, is that I'm of the belief, and I'm not trying to be funny here. I'm not trying to be...
Yeah.
But there is, I believe, something... the word possessed comes up, and that this technology that we're using to access what it is we love is being controlled by a power greater than ourselves. And I don't know that particular power controlling our music mix is wholly loving. I think it's mischievous and it's clever. And I I know I sound like a madman, but here, case in point, I'm doing YTunes Shuffle with Richard Rushfield, our mutual friend.
Yeah.
Richard being,
I like Richard.
which, by the way, I lost all of his fucking audio. I have to do it again, and it was a brilliant interview.
He's a great guy.
He's a great guy. He's the first one to write about the Uncabaret, which you were a part of.
Yes.
You were part of that initial first. It was like the first SNL. You were the first Uncabaret.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Changed
Richard.
my life.
How so? How did the Uncabaret change your life?
No, it changed. I would have no career without the Uncabaret.
That's right. Okay, so
Yeah.
it opened doors.
The Uncabaret was where I started doing stand-up, and when I got sober, Beth asked me to do it almost every single week. And
Beth Lapidus.
Yeah.
Yep.
I met Michael Patrick King, and Michael Patrick King asked me to be directed my HBO special, and then I got to be a consultant on the show Sex and the City, and then I said the phrase "he's just not that into you," and then I was the author of that book, and then I became a.
I mean that's where
that all came out of Cabaret.
I don't have a problem dropping names because the people that I drop names to appreciate it and don't see me as being some kind of star fucker who's going around saying I know this one, I know that one. It's my family mostly, and boy, when it's like what an interesting. Like this is just something Greg Behrendt would say. Listen, it's not that big a deal. He's just not that into you. And that thing went skyrocketing. What was that like for you? Like, did you?
Well, it wasn't. I mean, look, even when it happened, I wasn't the one that made a big deal out of it. The girl that co-authored the book was the one that said that's hilarious.
Who was the co-author? Was she
a girl
also
named Liz Chichillo, who was the writer on the show as well, and said I think that's a. That's
you
a great
said
idea.
it sparked.
I said it to somebody in a conversation,
and you weren't thinking
genuinely about.
You weren't thinking anything other than just like making a statement of fact.
I was just saying, if that guy doesn't want to have sex with you, he doesn't like you.
Yeah, that's true. As a guy, and it's hard to say that to us. Like you're a cool person, but I'm just not that into you. So I'm curious about this, if you don't mind. The book is still available and probably still selling, right?
Yeah.
And it's a resource.
It's a relationship book. That's basically it starts with if a guy doesn't ask you out, he doesn't like you. To if a guy doesn't have sex with you, like if a guy's too drunk to be around you. Like it's just very simple.
Yeah, it is simple. And that's what they say about everything creatively. Keep it simple. But I'm kind of curious. What's it feel like when all of a sudden, I guess the term is lightning strikes, or you catch lightning in a bottle, and the next thing you know, it's a non-stop roller coaster ride of attention. Now you're getting some pretty significant attention on a global scale.
It's hard to like.
What do you mean? Because I've never had that, but I want it. I want to walk around and have my hands up there, like quieting crowds of people. Saying, hey, okay, I'll get with all of you. Give me time.
It isn't really like that.
No.
Hang on. Well,
Greg's working his YTunes Shuffle. What a beautiful guest, because he's trying so hard. We're behind the technology, folks, at YTunes Shuffle. It used to be you just click on your frickin' music mix and songs would come up randomly, and we'd have a very similar type conversation. It doesn't have to be completely about the music. It is just another way to do it. But what Greg's doing right now is he's transfixed on his phone, trying to give us some more jams.
This is what my band sounds like.
This is your band? Oh, nice. My present significant whatever, who I'm not allowed to say her name, we's fucking dance, baby. So I'll be coming to your show. You'll be playing out soon?
This is a song we had out last summer called Murder Your Summer.
Murder Your Summer.
So,
I like it.
Yeah, it's very 60s.
I like it. So when you do take that ride, that fame ride, where you've written a book in your case, the book resonated with billions of people.
It just, it's surprising and interesting and wild, and part of you has a hard time believing it. So part of it, you're inside of it, so you're, it's exciting certainly.
Did you allow yourself to just whenever I have successes myself, I just want to say this, I have an ego, and I pat myself on the back in private moments. I try not to gloat in front of friends and relatives, but
well, I think part of it was weird because it wasn't something I was going after.
Yeah, that's
you know, it wasn't. You know, I was looking at a comedy career.
Yeah.
So to suddenly be handed a different kind of career, and have people looking to you for real, genuine help in relationship and in life, you know, you're suddenly going, oh wow, okay. I have to think about this. I have to really kind of consider what I'm being asked to do, and then this is what all I really want to do.
Play music.
What you're listening to.
Greg just pointed to the speaker I use here and said, "This is what he wants to do." But you took the ride. Okay, air jamming right now.
Yeah. So it's like it became, and you know, then I'm on the couch with Oprah and.
Oh my God, I know.
Oprah 4 times and
4 times you were on Oprah.
Yeah,
right? Yeah.
And well, we did it again just last year. We did a Taught Life class, my wife and I. And I you know, the thing was I was sober at the time, so I allowed myself to like just let it happen.
Sober with 12-step recovery type stuff, or sober with a rehab, or
sober with like 12-step, and
that's what I do. I do a 12-step.
You know,
program,
and I just let it happen, and I realized I was being of service of people, and I was allowing the book to be what it was, and I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it, but I also was. You're trying to understand it as it's happening. You're trying to understand what it is that's happening to you, and you're trying to understand what people want from you, and you're also trying to understand what you're supposed to do with it.
Right.
What am I supposed to do with all this information? I certainly didn't want to become Dr. Phil. I didn't want to. One of the things that was hard for me was I didn't want to become a preacher of relationship do's and don'ts. That wasn't what I had set out to do.
It came to you, though.
I know, but I didn't want it.
Okay.
So it was a different.
So you resisted this. There was an opportunity where if you were so inclined, you could have like opened up an office that touted.
Yeah, but I would have felt very snake oil salesmanish because the opportunities that came, I would eventually had to start inventing things, and I would have also had to. When I had the talk show, you suddenly realize, oh, you have to start creating shit. You have to start creating. You got to be
the Lemur.
You got to start kind of a little bit.
You got to be the Lemur. You always got to be. How are these people always happy?
And also, you have to create incendiary moments for yourself to solve. And you also have to start pushing people in directions of conflict so that you can solve the conflict. And it becomes real phony. And then all of a sudden, you start watching Oprah with a different set of glasses, and you start watching all of that stuff and realize. It's all to sell books, and it's all being done in a way that just didn't feel right to me, and it didn't feel like a fit to me, and it wasn't comedy anymore, and that's not what I wanted to do. I just wanted to be a comedian, so I didn't enjoy some of it. I love the books. The books I believe in. I believe in a book. I believe in reading a book, and I believe in writing a book, and I believe in looking at a book and saying, hey, you know, just like anything, where I like just like a script writing book. You know, I love that kind of information, but I like comedy.
Yeah.
I like writing comedy, and I like reading comedy, and I like making music, and I like creating with people. But there was something about sitting with a broken couple on a couch and trying to help them that felt disingenuous because that's not what I'd studied and not something I'd spent my life dedicated to.
Yeah, I think that it shows in individuals that really do try to push it. I think even, you know, Dr. Phil to some degree, it's like, is everything so goddamn dramatic? Does everything have to be so? I think he's a very wise person, Dr. Phil, and I think that his intentions are, you know, foundationally good, but there's so much P.T. Barnum in a lot of what that stuff.
There is, and then you have to check yourself, and I was getting pressure from a lot of, and I was getting pressure about like my brand and what my brand is, and then when it was over, I was told, well, that's your brand, and if you're not going to do that, then you can't do anything else. And then that's when I started to collapse in on myself, and that's when I lost my sobriety. I started to go crazy thinking, but I'm not just one thing, and I never wanted to be just that thing. And now you're telling me it's over, and that's not fair. And and instead of really working my 12 steps around it, and instead of really spending time with my sponsor, and I just isolated, and then the isolation just turned to, alienating my family and alienating my wife, and turning to the dog's pills, and and not seeking the kind of help that I needed, and really kind of fucking up.
I mean, I just, so many of us can relate, and a lot of us, do it. Fortunately, go through the process without being under a microscope. And you got out before any of that.
And the whole reason I sought out a band was I needed companionship. Yeah. I didn't play in a band thinking that's going to solve my problems and that I'm going to be a rock star. Mm-hmm. I sought out a band because I wanted companionship, and I wanted a creative outlet that was not about Greg Behrendt. Mm-hmm. The Reigning Monarchs are called the Reigning Monarchs because it's 4 guys making music on a creative level that's about like just collaboration.
How did you put the Reigning Monarchs together? How did that come together?
My guitar teacher, who was also my friend.
Who is it?
Mike Eisenstein. I've written a piece of music to walk on stage to, and then
you wrote a piece of music to start your stand-up act?
Yeah.
Can you find it?
Here? Yeah.
So
it's called Fanfare for a Well-Dressed Man.
Ladies and gentlemen,
please welcome Greg Behrendt.
That's sweet. That's powerful. So you wrote this with your guitar teacher. You still take classes? Oh, nice.
And then he said, "Do you have other songs?" And I said, "Yeah." And so we started recording them. Right?
I like this, man.
And so then we made a record.
Yeah.
And then we just started making more songs. And then we started playing live, and people started coming out.
Is Mike in your band?
Yeah, Mike produces and makes all the records.
And who are the other members of the band?
A guy named Blair Cinta, who plays with. When I met him, he was playing with Alanis Morissette.
Oh, wow!
And then he played with Melissa Etheridge, and now he's out with Idina Menzel. And then Mike was in Letters to Cleo.
Uh-huh.
And then played with Melissa Etheridge, and now is out with Tonic. And
so you guys are all involved in a lot of your own independent stuff when you can get together. Reigning Monarchs
and just make the Reigning Monarchs. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Yeah.
So you guys are all in different places right now.
Yeah, and but we're also now getting together, making a record right now.
Oh, we're
going to make another record right now.
And
we just got together last week and started working on new songs.
How many Reigning Monarchs recordings are available on Amazon?
On Amazon, on iTunes, on Bandcamp, there are 2 full lengths, an EP, and then there is a special record that's available on Amplify FM called The Lions Lounge Limited. It's 12 songs, and then you can on that it's like a club, and if you join it, you can watch us make the next new record.
Watch it like
we put up videos, and we all are putting up diaries and photos and all that stuff, and you watch us make the new record.
It's a ska dub.
It's going to be a dub record. Real.
I can't wait to see it. I would really like our relationship to grow.
Yes,
I totally see. Yeah. And what that means is, a couple times a year or every 5 years.
That's
a close relationship.
I mean, for us, that's quite a bit.
That's a big.
Yeah. It's a big leap.
Are your kids musical?
Well, they dance competitively.
Oh, you were telling me
they're the Nationals right now in Vegas.
Please tell us about that.
They dance 6 hours a day.
What?
Yeah, they dance all the time. But their biggest love is comedy. So they come home at night and all they want to do is watch.
Who do they like?
Portlandia and Arrested Development and SNL, and they like comedy so much that they were affected by Harris Whittle's death. That's how much they like Parks and Rec.
Oh my gosh!
They love comedy.
10 and 13.
10 and 13.
I guess that's how old we were when SNL came out. I think we're the same age. I was born 64.
Yeah. I am 52 next week.
Oh yeah, you're my older brother's age.
Yeah.
So my older brother and I were watching pro wrestling. We came across the show that there was. I remember it like it was yesterday.
Yeah.
That's your intro music right there. We just listened.
That was Short Pants for Fatty. That was that's another one.
Well, you can keep cranking Reigning Monarch. Anything you want. What do we got?
That's another Reigning Monarch song. This is the first record you're actually listening to.
Cool. Yeah, YTunes Shuffle has no format. I keep trying to push a format onto the show. You know, I had this, I think, a couple times. Michko Fremont. Do you know Michko?
No.
She's a Silver Lake musician, singer-songwriter.
Yeah.
And I said to her, all you got to do is put your music mix on, let it ride, and we'll talk about the song or not. We'll talk about anything. I just want music bumping on this podcast. I would like to try and address it as much as possible. So even in me explaining myself, I'm all over the place with this. But Michiko says, well, wait a minute. I got songs in development. I've got riffs on here. I got a lot of different stuff on my mix. I don't want to just let you listen to whatever pops up on my mix. And I was like, oh, yeah, of course not. And now here I am with you. This is the 9th episode. And I'm liking this vibe. It's like we had a little technical difficulty. We're trying to figure out the new iTunes. But
Yeah.
This is fine.
Yeah.
That we can talk
about.
I'm
also like open to everything. You can listen to if we had demos on here and stuff like that, I would play it. I would love to try and see if there's anything,
I just think that part of the balance that we need in the world today with this incredibly powerful amount of negative, scary news is more music and more kickback time and more rhythm and more beat instead of lecture and fucking boo and explosions.
Well, I also think that I think people are, the one great thing about now is that there is no prevailing one thing that people are into. There's no fascism in sound.
No.
The kids aren't into just one thing, and nobody cares how fucking old you are.
Right.
So if an old man is playing something and it's popular, people like it.
That's really kind of cool. Like
it doesn't matter.
My mom digs Kid Rock. She loves Kid Rock. My 72-year-old mother.
It doesn't matter really.
As much as I love Janis Joplin. So.
Yeah, right. It doesn't really matter, and it just as long as it's good. Mm-hmm. I'm trying to see if there's.
Yeah, whatever you want to thrill us with. There's a nice little.
This is more where we're at right now.
Reigning Monarchs.
Yeah.
Greg Behrendt. Would you say that you're the front man on this band?
I'm the catalyst.
You're the catalyst.
I'm the catalyst, and then I make sure that I pick out. I make sure that the album covers are being done. I make sure I put the group together like that. But Mike produces all the records, and Mike plays all the most complicated guitar stuff on here. But everyone does their job.
What was that band that did One Step Beyond?
Madness.
Yeah. Were they ska?
Yeah.
Yeah, I dug Madness. I worked at a bar called The Haunt in upstate New York, and Jonathan Richman would come through, Albert King. It was roots rock and reggae.
I love that.
And I went from, and I think we've talked about this in the past, different incarnations. I was a AC/DC, Van Halen, Boston, Journey, Meatloaf guy. Pretty much.
Sure.
That was my strong suit.
Yeah.
Those were my cards. And when I started working at the Haunt and started getting exposed to independent bands, like, oh my God, these guys live in my small town of Ithaca, New York, and they have I didn't know people had bands in small towns. So yeah, the ska thing remains for me, as you were saying earlier, kind of a consistency, and you're keeping it alive with Reigning Monarchs.
Yeah.
What's that instrument?
Trombone.
So 4 guys, how many instruments? Unlimited?
Well, we try and get as much this is probably 4 guys and the trombone player. And this is a woman that plays with Fishbone every once in a while.
Nice. We're doing it.
We're putting music on.
So the kids are in a dance competition right now?
Yeah, they're in the finals out in with their dance. They're in a team.
What's this competition? Is it sponsored by Reebok or something like that? Is this
it's dance kids from all over the country.
Just the U.S.
And it's the end of the season, and then all the new dances. Yeah. Well, let's find something else. Here's some old ska.
Yeah, school us with some ska.
This is the Ska-lites.
The Ska-lites.
And these guys are from Jamaica. And this is them doing the James Bond theme. This is from the 60s.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That is really cool.
And see, I can listen to this. I can listen to this all night long.
I don't find guys, friends of mine, at least 5 guys, who would be laying on the ground hyperventilating right now.
Yeah.
That's how I feel. See, this is what the music's all about, ladies. It's about how you feel in your heart when something truly amazing penetrates it musically. I'm having that feeling right now. Let me shut up for this.
Right?
Good choice.
And these guys are still around, and they're all in their like 70s and 80s.
Yeah.
And they still play around here, and they're from Jamaica.
Play around LA?
Yeah.
Ska-tastic?
Yeah.
Ska-tastic.
Yeah.
I have a stepbrother who used to dance randomly in public places, and he said, I don't give a fuck. If I want to get loose, I'll get loose. That's how I feel right now. All right.
Yeah, I mean, this is my stuff. This is my, like... And because the girls all love this stuff, like my wife and the family all loves this.
This is the Behrendt family.
We put this on a Saturday, and everyone cleans the house, or a Sunday, and girls do their homework, and we all just hang out and like.
And here's a theme too with YTunes Shuffle. Thank you for sharing that, because my guests are now talking about the family. Like if I were to have to say, it's Janis Joplin. I mean, that's our family. There's so much of our history, and our family diary is informed by music of the 60s. Last week, Michko's was Earth, Wind, and Fire, and now the Behrendt family, we know that their house music is a ska.
Is the ska music, yeah.
Greg, there's so much I haven't tapped into with all my guests, and I want to thank you. We're at the 45-minute mark.
Yeah.
Which is what I'm cutting it at right now.
Yeah,
only because to download this can be a
Yeah. No, and I got to take my sister to a movie.
Okay.
We're gonna go.
I want to thank you very much for doing this, and I'd like to invite you to please come back and consider doing a round table, which we're going to try to videotape.
Oh, I love that.
My guest today has been Greg Behrendt, and this has been YTunes Shuffle number 9. Thank you all for listening, and we'll be coming at you. Anybody's welcome to be on YTunes Shuffle. It doesn't matter who, what, when, and where. I'll come to you. We'll make it work. Have a great day, and off we go.
Off we go, man. Beautiful, dude.